What's up, guys and gals? Welcome to the third episode of Entrepreneur Gains, where I interview YC alumni. Today, I'm interviewing Tatul Ajamyan, founder of a social media app called Wakie. Started off by trying to fix a simple problem of waking up in the morning by creating accountability. It is now an app where strangers can talk to strangers about any topic they want to talk about. They have raised over $7 million, and the app is being used by millions of people around the world. This is a must listen episode for anyone excited about social media startups, and I enjoyed it a lot because me and Tatul shared the common connection of starting a social media app slash consumer apps. I hope you guys like it. Hey man, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Let's start with I wanna know more about you. Like, want the listeners to know more about you. So let's start with who are you? How did you come up with your app, which did so well and got into IC and stuff? Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, who am I is a big question. I wonder how far.
I didn't mean in a spiritual way. I meant more in an entrepreneurial.
Right. Yeah. I'm coming from an entrepreneurial family, and I started my first company very early when I was 19, and with my brother, who you know as well, who is the co-founder at Wakie, and he was 16, I was 19. We started the first company. It was web development agency, designing websites and all sorts of videos and all that stuff. And basically, I understood that the world is moving in digital era. It was a long time ago, by the way. It was 2002. And my brother was this geeky, techie guy, and I was this, sales guy. So I started by exploiting his brains and using his brain, selling his brain power to the world, and it was fun. At some point, I decided to go into my educational background is finance. So I decided to go and see how is it in finance, because I tried out entrepreneurial path. And it's great, but I thought maybe the growth would be limited if I didn't educate myself. So I went. I worked for PwC, Price Waterhouse Coopers, the consulting company, and then I worked for an investment bank as an M&A person, mergers and acquisitions. And then I returned to, and my brother, he worked for the biggest tech company in Russia, Yandex.
Wow. I've done advertising on them. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they bought the first social network in Russia, which was kind of LinkedIn of Russia. And my bro was the CEO of that company. Wow. And and he worked for Yandex for a couple of years. And then we returned to our older company together, thinking about what could we build next. Right. So this 10-year journey was preparing us, from all sides. What's the business, how you deal with people, how you manage, and how they managed you, and all that stuff. It was very interesting. And then at some point, he and me sat down and started thinking about ideas we had. And by we, I mean him. He's this fountain of ideas. And he said, he was working in two places, and then he was studying at university, and he didn't sleep. Like, he was sleeping, and there was no order in his sleep, so he could wake up late in the evening and start working then. So he was a hard wake upper, and he had this crazy idea. What if when he was getting a call on his mobile, it could be a client, basically. And this was the situation when he would wake up really efficiently.
Yep.
and he was making some noises with his throat, and then he answered the phone and started speaking like he is at the office for a couple of hours already, pretending, to be awake. And he had this crazy idea: what if we would call each other and wake each other up, like a hotel wake up call, but crowdsourced?
Okay.
And we decided to build that. So it was just a funny experiment. We kind of intuitively felt that we need to build an MVP. We never knew the MVP word,
Yep.
but we decided to build it as a simple thing. And long story short, a few weeks, in 3 weeks, we've launched it and told it on one of the events where there were 20 people. Next day we had 50 wake up calls. Next day we had 100. Next day we had 200. It was doubling every day.
Wow.
Working only in one city in Moscow.
Yeah.
And then at some point when we launched it to be available in Russia, it started doubling every 4 hours.
Wow.
You can imagine exponential
Yeah.
exponential growth. And then we understood that, and then one morning we wake up and we see that someone took the idea, translated it into English, and launched it in the US. And we were scared. Yeah, we were very scared because we had something that we invented, and someone was launching it in the capital of the world, in Silicon Valley. So
Wow.
what we did, we really booked tickets, and we started translating, and then in 2 weeks we launched it in English, and the result was different from what we've done, what we've seen in Russia, because we told it to like 200 people, and then the next day we saw 3 alarm clocks, and then the next day 1, and then the next day 0. So it's I heard that launching a product in a different country is like launching a new company,
Yep.
but we experienced that on our own. So that's how it started.
Wow.
It took us a while to figure out how to make it more interesting for different cultures and stuff, but eventually, some in some ways
Yeah.
we succeeded.
I remember when I met you, and this is about 4 years ago.
Mm,
You guys had some of the craziest numbers I've ever heard. I remember that were like
mm,
the amount of calls that were happening every day. I
yeah,
remember because I remember we were starting out, and you guys were like we were chatting about it, and it was insane how many calls were you were having on like as a startup and like someone young like doing their first or like their first startup and like meeting some great people,
yeah.
and I was like, holy shit, what's going on here? How many at the peak of your like of when like you guys were blowing up, what was the number of calls you were having every minute?
I don't know actually, but there was this problem. Right now Wakie is a social app for phone calls where you set any topic you want to talk about,
Right.
and in a few seconds get to have a phone call with an interested person. It's not about wake up calls anymore,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
But back in the day when it was about wake up calls, we had these peak hours, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., like these round hours, 7:30. And in those hours, we were having huge number of calls, but I don't remember exactly how many.
No worries. I think when you were guys were in YC, you guys had already like pivoted or shifted to the model
We were
where
experimenting,
you
yes,
were
yes.
experimenting at that
So
point. Okay.
first time we applied, when we applied first time, we were a wake up call, and then we got rejected, and by the next time we were already pivoted.
Very cool. Did the
Yeah,
pivot come because of the rejection, or you guys were already just growing in general? Like, was just natural?
I can't say, like, it's not just it's not the reason for the pivot, but I think it just adds up. It just adds up in the bucket, and then you understand that there's too many arguments to pivot, and you pivot.
Got it. Was it difficult for you to get into YC, considering you guys were from like based out of Moscow, Russia?
Mm. We understood at some point, we understood that we want to be in the US because, we understood that if you want to build a scalable global really company, and we had something that was unique, no one ever has built it before. So we thought there's no better place than Silicon Valley for that. I mean, at that point, like now, maybe there could be some alternatives, which I don't think they're equal, but anyways, you could at least say, there's Paris, there's China, there's, I don't know, Dubai, maybe Berlin, but London, New York. But Silicon Valley was the only choice. So we went there and we started, we moved there and we started working there before Wacie. So
Oh wow, okay, I didn't know
we
that.
kind of were, we started raising there and stayed in Silicon Valley. So it was kind of mixed. Was it hard? When something is done, it feels like it wasn't hard. But
Yeah.
I think if you asked me back then, I would say, "Oh, it's impossible. How would we get there?" and so
Yeah.
on. But when you
Yeah.
do that, then you think, "Yeah."
I also didn't know that you guys were already in states at that point. I thought you guys applied from Russia. You came all the way from for the interview from Russia, which is for us because we came from Canada and it was just like a few hours flight and we were like so scared because flying all the way from for 8 hours for a 10-minute interview, and
Yeah,
but you guys, if you're coming from Russia, you guys coming all the way for on a 20+ hour flight for just like a 10
yeah,
minute interview. It's like so scary. But I
yeah.
but I but I love the fact that you guys.
Actually, it is. So I was in the U.S. and my brother was in Moscow back then,
Right.
and so he had to fly.
You
He
had to
had to
fly.
fly
Okay.
in further. Yeah,
But the fact that you moved from Russia to US without without just because you wanted to be in the startup community, that's amazing, man. That's hard and that takes a lot of courage to do that.
yeah.
Hats off to you and how you guys have built an amazing company. It's just because of that kind of, I want to be with the best people in the best environment to be able to grow.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you have a chance to taste what Silicon Valley is, you should do that because in our world, in technological entrepreneurship, there's no bigger concentration of great minds who are so open to talk to you. It's amazing because not in all cultures people are open to talk to you, to advise, to help. And
Right.
Silicon Valley is this amazing place where so many smart and open-minded people are around you. You're just constantly learning. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Would you say that was one of the reasons you guys did so well was the move to the valley?
Uh, I, well, we've learned a lot. Uh, I think what you learn is the quality things. So
Hmm.
launching a product and being viral or all that is possible from elsewhere. No
Right.
problem. You can hit the nerve of the consumer, and then you're having this growth. But retaining users, building a company, hiring the best people, learning
Right.
what metrics really matter, what doesn't matter, um, raising money from quality investors who can help you along the way. So these all things, like to be a sustainable company, to build a sustainable company, it was more important for that more than just launching or having this initial success.
Very cool. Cool. And so how was the YC experience for you? Like the 4 months, 3 to 4
It's
months
a
being
game
there, and
changer.
yeah,
It's a life-changing experience. So first of all, we were thinking, are we overqualified because we already had users, we had this and
yeah.
that, and we thought maybe we're overqualified. Um, the valuation was lower than we were.
It's funny you guys say you were thinking you were overqualified. We were thinking, are we under are we are they did they make a mistake for letting us in? What's going on here? Kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
listen. So then I heard Michael Seibel saying
yeah,
there is no, there is no overqualified, underqualified. they want to take they want everyone to apply,
Yep.
international, local, whatever,
Yep.
NGO, whatever. So then so YC experience was life changing for us because uh, I don't see any other scenario when I would believe in things that I believed in when we were at YC. The mantra of YC is make something people want,
Yep.
and you do that by talking to your customers. And
Agreed.
when I heard that for the first time, I thought, okay, that applies to B2B startups, that applies where you don't have too many customers, that applies to startups maybe like us, but in the beginning when you have 1,000 customers maybe, or 100 customers. But when you have 100,000 customers, it doesn't apply to you. How can you talk to 100,000, right?
Yep.
If you don't know the story when PG Paul Graham asked what Airbnb is doing in
Yep.
his office when they have to be in New York, where they had like 30 clients. His reasoning was amazing. This is the only point in time when you can talk to all 30 of your customers.
Yep.
If you want to build a scalable business, you start doing non-scalable things. Yeah. So I thought, yeah, thank you. It's an interesting idea for the next startup, but
Yep.
I cannot talk to 100,000 people. But when we kept hearing it from the smartest people we met in our lives, again and again and again, at some point, Hrachik and I decided to uh, switch fully, like full time, 10,
Yep.
12 hours a day talking to customers. And one thing that helped was that Wakie is a talking platform, so we could talk and text
Just
with
on your own
our
app. Yeah. Exactly.
exactly. But then we integrated Intercom and we started talking to them through Intercom because it gave us additional information about them and stuff. But in a month, in 30-day period, we've spoken to 5,000 people, which
Wow.
was an
Wow.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were only talking to customers. In at our scale, the only thing we could do to cover a large portion of customers was by just doing that. So the founders, Rajik and I, were just talking to customers for a month, and we understood something. And this something was that, okay, we've built a wake up call thing then we started pivoting and so on. But the value people are really getting is not that. The value they were getting was the conversation itself with the person, where you can freely express yourself, to express your emotions, and the other person would feel your emotions, would, your sense of humor would kick in, and you would build this trust based on this first just 10, 15 seconds talking to a person. You already see if you can trust this person, if you like the person or not. And that was that. And this sincere conversation uh, led to building sincere friendships on our platform. But
Wow.
Wiki was not built for friendships, and we understood that, we have to redesign, and we understood much more than
Oh yeah,
looking
that's
at
when you guys were
statistics.
redesigning. I remember now when we met, you guys were redesigning the app. That's when this happened
Yeah,
then. Oh wow,
exactly. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
You know what's interesting though? It's funny, and I don't know if I told you the story or not. But remember in our batch, PG came for one day for like 1 hour. Do you remember that by any
Right.
chance?
Yeah, yeah.
I was probably the only person who went and talked to him. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just
No.
ran up to him. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I ran up to him, and he gave us probably the best advice somebody could ever give. And it's funny, like how like you heard it from different people. I had like PG talking to me directly, right?
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
gave and he
Yeah.
yeah. So the advice was basically go back. What the hell are you doing here? Go back to Alberta. Go back to your which is our province where we're from. Go back to your. He basically asked us what's our biggest school, and then he was like, go back to the school you're from, and until you have 80% of the school using your app, don't scale. And
Yeah.
because we were talking about going to a different part of the country and scaling and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And we were like, yeah, you're right, but it doesn't apply to our situation because of X, Y, and Z. Like we came up with reasons in our own head, right? And it's funny like how you said that, because like it's as humans we bias it. We're like, yeah, he's right, I get it, but it doesn't apply to us. And we like
yeah,
I've
absolutely.
seen that. I've done it 100 times. I've seen other people do that all the time with their startups or in general, where they're like, they agree to the information. They're like, yeah, what he's saying is right, but they
Yeah,
don't like, for some reason it doesn't apply to them, which I think is
right.
fascinating human experience.
Absolutely. I think most of the great lessons learned in startup life, you can understand them. You can even agree with them,
Yep.
but you never, it's very hard to believe in them as a case for you, for your
Yep.
company, and even harder to implement them. So I think this is the biggest resource that we got in at YC. You know, they just were so, we respected them so much that we really believed in what they're saying and really implemented this mantra of talking to customers. I think this is the biggest learning and the biggest change
I agree.
for us. And it's easy to say, easy to learn, but it's not easy to implement. And I'm grateful to YC. By the way, you're mentioning PG. So PG came for dinner, and we are in line next to him. And then he says, "Oh, what do you guys build?" And my bro pitches Wakie,
Yeah.
and for maybe a half a minute or a minute, and then PJ makes this face and then says, "Why did we even invest in you?" I was scared to death,
That's so classic. I love it. That's amazing.
He's an
It's so
amazing
amazing.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, he's so good. I got a question for you, because this always
yeah,
comes up with like, like the biggest reason startups break up is because of co-founder disputes, right?
mhm.
And like you starting a business with your brother, did that, how, first of all, how was it like, and secondly, did that ever like, obviously it's ups and downs, a lot of them, did that ever lead to like a lot of arguments or fights, anything, or like how, I know you guys are really close and everything, but like I'm saying, that did that ever started like making the relationship a little worse because you being co-founders in a high growth startup?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, um, there's pros and cons. Uh, we were raised in a family and in a culture where family matters, and I don't know, maybe the closest from American perspective is Italian,
Okay. Got it.
lifestyle. Yeah, so the family matters the most. It's the most important thing in life, and so on. So the pros are that we always knew that the brotherhood is bigger than any business issues.
Right.
We would never, we would fight and we would try to convince each other. We would disagree a lot, but we would always know that the brotherhood is the most important thing. So it would, we would never separate because of the business.
Love it.
So that's a good sign. Another good sign is that I and Rajik, we always know that whatever the person is doing, even if it sounds crazy, even if it sounds irrational, illogical, uh, your partner, your co-founder, doesn't want to hurt you.
Right.
It's not because of bad intention or because of ambition or because of something else. You could be suspicious about other people, but not your own brother. So
Love
we
it.
always knew when we are hurting each other, it's not because we wanted to hurt each other. It's just because we didn't understand something, we disagreed, and we were stupid or something. Yeah. So these are the pros. The cons, of course, when you have 13, 15 hours of business going, you forget about the brotherhood, about the relationship, and all you do is work. And at some point, you understand that for the last year or something, you've never spoken as brothers. You're always discussing business. Whenever you have a chance, you only speak about business, and that's not good. For a family like us, where Hirachik and I spend a lot of time talking just about life, about the universe, about whatever. And we would discover ourselves that for a year we never spoke about anything than business, and it's not great, of course. So
Yeah.
it has some downsides as well. We disagree a lot. Now that we've been doing this, for many years, of course, it's easier. And also we've understood who is responsible for what part. And we have some rules between us.
Right.
Like we have this concept of strong opinion. So if there is something where there is no right answer, and you have a strong opinion, and I have an opinion, but it's not a strong opinion, then we go with your opinion. For example, just one of the things that we've developed to make better, easier decisions, basically.
Awesome. I love it, man. We're running short on time, but I do want to ask you this question because I feel I get this asked a lot, and I want to get your thoughts on this because we were the only social media app in our batch, at least. First of all, how much did you guys ended up raising when you were doing it?
More than 6 million.
Okay. And then for you guys, for us, like, because in social media, you don't make money, right? So at least in the start. Was it an issue for you guys because the runway, like, always shortens and start, you're not making money? Like, was it a big challenge for you guys?
It was a big challenge. It was a big challenge because in the beginning, this all was built, voice over IP was not that developed back then. We had to build all this over GSM, over real calls. And it cost us a fortune. So we were spending a lot on that. And at some point we've switched and internet developed and 3G developed and all that stuff. But initially we were spending a lot of money on telecom, for example. So burning money was an issue. And also at some point, pre-YC, we've scaled the team too early. We hired too many people, and that was a bad decision. Yep. So we didn't know this user retention as a word. We didn't know about that concept. We thought when people sign up, that's great. But looks like for social startups like us, that's not the most important thing.
So what would you recommend someone, because I get this asked a lot, like, hey, and it's unfortunate because it's so naive, and you look at it, you're like, you don't even know the half of it. But I get asked this all the time. Hey, I want to build an app similar to, like a social media app similar to Facebook or similar to this and Twitch or whatever. Oh, sorry, not Twitch, Twitter or whatever. And I'm like, man, don't get into social unless you are super, super confident. So like, what would your advice be to someone who's starting a social media app?
I'm not sure I'm the best advisor, but I think general advice is optimizing the right metrics. Optimizing for the right metrics. I mean, for example, stickiness, what we call DAU divided by MAU, daily users by monthly users, right? This thing should be high. If this thing is high, if you've built this for 100 people and they keep using it in a couple of months, like 50 of them keep using it in a couple of months every day, you got it right. Find people like this 50. Lose the other 50, find people like this 50, and just show your app to those 50 because they are getting value and they will be talking about your app to people like them. So I think that's very hard to do, and it rarely happens, but that's what you should optimize for.
Love it. I also like one thing where I think, at least personally, and this was also the mistake we made, which eventually led to our failure as well. I think that a lot of people try to clone an already built system, and they're like, trying to make it a little bit better. And I think I don't know who said this. I think it was Dave McClure or someone, or YC. I don't know. Maybe it was YC who said that, but someone who said that. It was like, I think it was Paul PG who said that. It was like, basically, the new product should be 10 times better
10x,
than the old, the old solution, right?
10x cheaper, 10x better, or whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like whenever people are trying to make social media apps, whichever that it might be, they're like, I'm trying to make a new like new Facebook or whatever, and it's just like a little bit better. It's not like, you know, in the all new LinkedIn, in the ideal world, this is how it will be. And you're like, well, it's hard because you're trying to fight against this whole everyone's on one place. You're trying to get people moving
Right.
from, right. It's a
Right.
difficult, and so that's what I think. It's a crazy one. And we made the same mistake because we were so close to Yik Yak. We were not 10x better,
Mm.
which I think
Yeah, but
led
at the
to
same time, you can't tell the same about the products that really worked. For example, Facebook.
right.
Facebook was, pre-Facebook, we had Friendster, MySpace, whatever, classmates, LinkedIn,
Yeah,
and you couldn't say at that point that Facebook is 10x better.
right. Now
So
it is, but at that point
I
wasn't.
wouldn't
Yeah,
guess. I mean, I would hate being a VC, for example. I never trust myself in terms of, oh yeah, this company will be great, or this product will work and this will not. I never know. But I think the secret is spending as little time and money as possible to build an MVP and
agree.
show it to the right audience and see if they get the value. If you can do that, experiment with it. So spend 3 weeks, spend 4 weeks, design the thing, just code it yourself with your friend, with your buddy, and show it to 100 people. That's doable without any money. If this works for these 100 people, then you have a future. You just go to a VC and you say, here is 100 people who tried this. Here is 50 people who use it in 2 months. Here is what we've spoken to them. They say this and this. This is the value they're getting. So we want to scale this, and
Love it.
then you can raise. Then you can build whatever you can find great teammates and all that stuff. So
Love it.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't say don't do it. Just don't spend too much resource on that, because
Right.
the rate of failure, especially in social, is super big. So
Yep.
you will fail most likely. Don't spend too much resource. Fail quick. And if you don't fail, lucky you, go and raise and do all the rest.
Yeah,
rest
and
of
even
this.
like the company like that got out by Facebook. I think they worked on. I don't remember the name now, but this company they did like they did like for high school students. They did these polls, or like they were kind of like
Yeah,
iterated version of Yik Yak and us as well. And they did it for 7 years. They built a consumer app after
yeah,
app. They kept on failing, and they kept on doing it for 7 years. And they got acquired for over $100 million, and then they got shut down in like 2 months or 3 months after Facebook bought them. So it's like, it happens. It's just like, you're right. Like, it's just a small percentage of win, and even after you kept on doing it and eventually ended up making something cool which blew up, still
right.
might fail, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Awesome, man. I want to do last segment here. Four quick fire questions, only 1 to 2 sentences each.
yep.
Let's do it. So, one hack you guys did to grow your business that nobody knows about.
That's a really hard one. It's a really hard one. But I think the biggest thing that we've really done is this: talking to customers, spending quality time, long conversations with customers to understand what they really want and what they really get from your product, and optimizing to provide this value to this kind of people. I think that helped us to uh, to get to the next level, I would say.
Love it. Okay. Advice for someone applying to YC.
Well, there is so much material online. You should read. There's a lot. You should talk to other YC founders, and you should get recommendations. That helps, at least to get interviewed. Also, don't get frustrated when you are not invited or when you're rejected for the first time. That's totally fine. It's a process. You should do it several times. That's fine.
Love it. Advice for someone starting their first startup.
Oh, if I didn't have my co-founder, my brother, I wouldn't survive this long. That's for sure.
Wow.
So having a good, trustworthy co-founder is the basis. And then the rest, constantly be learning every day new stuff, either from people or online. There's so much stuff to learn now. You just have to pick the right things. But I think having a great partner and learning every day is important.
Love it. And last question, what is the one thing you can teach me?
I don't know, bro. I think with I think failing is a great learning. So
Yep.
we failed a lot, and I think that's if you fail and you keep fighting, I don't know what to teach you really. If you fail and you don't fight, maybe I would say don't get frustrated, but you do fight, and I think that there's I don't have lessons. I don't consider myself a teacher in this case.
That's fair. Awesome, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, me too, bro. It was great to talk to you. Great to see you again, and hopefully we will see each other in person soon.
100%. We'll talk soon, man.
Yeah.